If a doctor was an animal, what animal would he or she be? The medical education system indoctrinates us in a Stockholm Syndrome-like style, showing us that we are nothing but easy targets ripe for the milking. Pre-meds are a captive audience, and oh so desperately pathetic. We want to be a doctor so bad that when someone tells us to eat dirt, we do so without question. MCAT, unfortunately, is exactly that, a symbol of a system rotten to its core. In fact, the entire medical education system is built to extract as much value from you, and it all starts with this seemingly benign test, a herald for many more crappy tests and unnecessary hoops to come. If you've stumbled upon this video and have no idea what the MCAT is, God bless you. The MCAT is the standardized test for all aspiring doctors that they need to take before they go to medical school. It is without a question the most utter useless piece of garbage ever. Let me tell you why. Oh, in full disclosure, I took it twice. Some take it 4 times or more before they get a competitive enough score. Some dedicate months to years of studying for this stupid thing. You got a good score? Great. Awesome. Let me show you the door to medicine. Here's your ticket. Wait, what are you doing? The ticket just allows you to stand near the door. It doesn't mean you can go in. Now that you've taken it, we bestow upon you the honor of simply being considered. Oh wow, yippee. But the MCAT sounds useful, some protest. It's the building blocks of medicine. Here are the MCAT subjects. Yes, it sounds like it would be helpful, doesn't it? But if you really believe that, it tells me you simply are either 1. A naive pre-medical student who has no idea how medicine is really practiced, 2. An administrator whose job is to implement more and more useless quality control measures, or 3. You work for Princeton Review or Kaplan, or you work for the MCAT. The truth of the matter is, the MCAT is a huge waste of time and brain space. As a practicing doctor, I don't use a single ounce of that knowledge. Let's be honest, what is the MCAT really? It is nothing but a relic of an era where tests had to be created to lend an air of legitimacy to the path of becoming a doctor. People had to come together and erect unnecessary barriers in order to look cool and prestigious. That's basically it. And to prove to you that this is a relic of a bygone era, let me ask you this. Do nurse practitioners and physician assistants have to take the MCAT? Hint, no. As more and more nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and other mid-levels with a fraction of a training of a board-certified doctor flood the healthcare system, do you think anyone is bemoaning the fact that they don't know how to draw arrow diagrams pushing electrons along an intricate line of connected benzene rings? Yeah, that's organic chemistry, folks. So what is the real purpose of organic chemistry then? Honest truth of organic chemistry, it is designed to be a torture chamber for students to dishearten them on their journey to becoming a doctor. Right from the very beginning, killing off candidates like they are on Survivor. Okay, what about biochemistry? Sure, some elements of biochemistry are important, but the inane details of every metabolic pathway the body does? No. If you're going to be a chemist, then sure. If you're Heisenberg cooking blue crystal meth, then definitely. But if you're going to be a practicing physician, you are dealing with an entirely different realm of existence. There's enough on a doctor's plate already. Your mind should be filled with disease patterns, treatments, and procedures. You don't need to know or will ever be expected to know the specific pathway of the Krebs cycle. Yes, I'm aware that there are diseases that directly impact the Krebs cycle. If you're the kind of specialized doctor that needs this in your daily practice, have fun learning the specific molecules and proteins for the specific context you need them for. For the vast majority of us, that is, everybody else, all we need to know are big major concepts. What about physics? Yeah, no. If you live on Earth, you likely understand the following basic concepts. 1. That gravity exists. Do you understand that things get pulled down to the ground by something called gravity? If so, you now understand that when there is fluid in the body where it's not supposed to be, it will sink to the most dependent area, that is, the bottom. Check. Great. Number 2, fluid likes to flow through tubes and leaks out of holes. Someone tells you that your patient has low blood pressure. Okay, great. With the basic understanding of physics, you can now surmise that either the pump or the heart is broken, or 2, something is blocking the pump, or 3, the pipes, i.e. the blood vessels, are too dilated and not providing enough pressure, or 4, the blood is leaking out somewhere, or maybe just a combination of all of the above. Easy common sense stuff. You also don't need that much physics to understand the concept of matter. When doing surgery, if you leave a sponge in the body, it'll still be there when you sew up their abdomen. Object permanence. Acing the physics section of the test also won't help you when you get sued later for leaving a sponge in their gut. Okay, what about psychology, sociology, ethics, philosophy, cultural studies, humanities? While I admittedly cannot directly comment on these topics directly, as I took the MCATs when they did not test this hodgepodge of topics, what it really seems like is the MCAT's half-baked way to stay relevant. Critics of the medical admissions process have been hounding committees for years to invest in some of the softer skills of medicine. Well, how good of a job did the MCATs do? Let's do a couple of questions to see, shall we? This is the question taken from an actual MCAT. If the goal of the health communication is to have influence on individuals, families, neighborhoods, medical and social service organizations, and ultimately public health policy, they are adhering to A. Ecologic theory, B. Family systems theory, C. John Bowlby's attachment theory, or D. Milton Gordon's assimilation theory. Seriously? Do you think being able to answer this convoluted and pedantic garbage means that this person is a kind and compassionate soul? Here's another example of a psychology question. Drinking a cup of coffee is something people do every day, alone or with friends, at home or at work. A researcher following the theory of symbolic interactionism, who was observing two people enjoying a coffee together, would primarily point out that A, the symbolic value of coffee is that the drinking ritual is more important than the drink itself. Or B, coffee is a stimulant drug. Or C, coffee is the second most valuable commodity in international trade. Or D, coffee is a branded and politicized consumption good. Okay, the correct answer is obviously A. This is the MCAT's explanation. Symbolic interactionists observe how people relate to things based on the meanings those things have for them. These meanings are created through social interaction and can be interpreted differently. For instance, people can meet to have a coffee, but are not obliged to actually consume the drink. They can have a tea and still enjoy the shared meaning of comfort and spending time with their friends, which is related to the idea of having a coffee. The answer reads as if it is teaching someone who has never socialized with a human being before, and it's telling them what having a coffee is all about. Yes, you don't have to drink coffee in order to enjoy hanging out with your friend. Wow, drinking tea is acceptable too. Oh, let's make sure all the future doctors of America understand this concept. Thank you, MCATs. The absurdity of these questions can only mean one thing. They're designed for something else entirely. Number 1, to make other people rich. There's enough bureaucratic leeches and administrative bloat throughout the system already. There's no need to add more, please. I can see why though. Everybody wants to somehow cash in on the $4.3 trillion that are spent in the US healthcare industry, without actually having to be involved in the mess that is patient care. Number 2, to thin out the pack. The MCAT is awesome if you want to see who can study a large amount of information in an extremely short time span and efficiently regurgitate it via test form, all without having a nervous breakdown. Some argue that there are too many people that want to be doctors and not enough spots, conveniently ignoring the projections that the US will have a massive shortage of doctors by 2034. The Association of American Medical Colleges project a shortage of 40,000 to 124,000 doctors in fact. So really, the MCAT serves to be a barrier of entry held up by an illusion of false scarcity with no real purpose but to distinguish good test takers from bad ones. I say, let's get rid of it, or at the very least, get rid of its false pretense. Come on MCAT, at least have the balls to look us in the eye while you suck us dry. I say, it's time for a creation of a new test entirely. Let's make a test that rotates between a panel of random subjects. 1 year can be based on the memorization of baseball statistics. 2nd year can be about 90s trivia. Maybe in 1 year, you can actually consider testing real practical medical concepts. I know, we're getting a little crazy now. In the end, there's a price to knowledge, a price to learning, a price to retaining information. Knowledge requires upkeep and actual application, and none of that is happening with what is learned on the MCAT. Because when medical school starts and you start learning real physiology, the time for trivia is over. At the end of the day, a clinical physician will only retain the knowledge that proves useful to their everyday practice. Everything else is forgotten. The brain is an efficient but ruthless machine. Why am I salty over this? Shouldn't I be happy that I got selected from among my peers because of this system? I should be happy because I benefited? No, I regret partaking in this bloated system of fraud and waste. The most valuable resource in all of our lives is our time. We only get so many years to live in an infinitely smaller amount of time while in good health. There's a huge opportunity cost to all of this. Instead of learning Milton Gordon's assimilation theory, I could have been learning about how to save grandma when she collapses on the floor and needs CPR. Here's an idea. Why not teach and test the basics of life-saving care? Even if not all pre-medical students become doctors, at least you'll have a bastion of people that much more useful in society. Or better yet, how about you just let them enjoy their goddarn life before they devote all their time to medicine? I wonder what that would do to the physician burnout and suicide rate, which unfortunately is more than double that of the general population. How much time do you think is wasted on the MCAT as a collective whole? According to Princeton Review, one should expect to study in total 200 to 300 hours total, or 15 hours over 6 months. According to the AAMC, more than 85,000 people take the exam each year. If we assume that they are all studying what is necessary to pass, that would be a collective 21 million hours of manpower wasted in a year, taken over the entire lifetime of the MCAT's institution, which was in 1928. That's a collective 2.1 billion hours wasted over its inception. Wonder what society would have looked like if we'd actually spent these 2.1 billion hours for more productive endeavors. Some argue that if you could harness the intensity of MCAT prep and devote all these hours to solving real problems instead, things like poverty would probably evaporate overnight. Apart from being a huge waste of time, the MCAT also incentivizes one more terrible thing: bad doctors. Which doctor would you rather see? One who is happy to see you and stays in the profession not because she is saddled with endless student debt, but because she loves every moment of it. She chooses to be here because it is her calling and she is kind, compassionate, and nice to a fault. Or the other guy who is good at test taking and ruthlessly competitive and wants to be a doctor because she is good at jumping through hoops. She will do whatever it takes to crush the competition and step on the heads of those who stand in her way. The answer is pretty clear, right? In the end, medical education is a public good that benefits all of society. The doctors that are trained should be representative of those that they care for. Instead, it seems that the current system rewards the kind of people we may not want as our healthcare heroes. Thirsty, type A individuals who are freakishly good at testing. You think those that are emotionally balanced, compassionate, or kind can survive in the grueling system we now have? Let me remind you, the MCAT, a 7.5-hour exam, is just the entrance exam. You haven't even walked through the door yet. But guess what? If you made it through the MCAT and got in, don't worry, because there's a million other tests waiting to chew up your goodwill and patience. I wish you the best of luck.